She's gonna be high risk, high reward, and exciting if you're up for the deck building challenge. Bring on the Misery onto your opponents, of course. But before we get to her mechanics, who is Misery? Well, meet Elizabeth Allen, or Liz Allen. She was a classmate of Peter Parker, yes, Spider-Man himself, in high school that initially thought of him as a bit of a loser, but over time actually came to admire Peter's intelligence and developed a bit of affection for him. Nothing too serious though. Liz would still be a part of Peter's life after high school, later marrying Harry Osborn. Yes, the son of Norman Osborn, aka Green Goblin.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Following Harry's demise after becoming the Green Goblin himself, Liz became the new head of Oscorp. She became a huge success in the science and development industry, and at one point inherits her dad's company Allen Chemical and merged it with Horizon Labs and Oscorp, creating Alchemax. Now, she's blackmailed into experimenting and weaponizing symbiotes, creating a new symbiote by fusing the Carnage and Anti-Venom symbiotes. Now, we'll talk more about Anti-Venom when he comes out as a card in Marvel Snap later this season. During an attack on Alchemax Labs, the flask containing this new hybrid symbiote is broken and it bonds with Liz, creating Misery, a hybrid symbiote that's actually always at odds and also possessing the combined powers of the Carnage and Anti-Venom symbiotes, including an extremely malleable physiology and an extremely potent healing factor. In Marvel Snap, Misery is a 4 energy, 7 power card with the ability On Reveal. Repeat the On Reveal abilities of your other cards here, then destroy them. Okay, of all the card releases this month, Misery might just be the most hit or miss one, and I think it'll become very clear why in just a bit. First, let's talk about the order of events when you play Misery, based on what I understand from the text. When you play Misery, the card checks the lane for on-reveal cards. Then it reprocs them and destroys only those cards. So I believe that non-on-reveal cards will be safe from Misery. Like Nimrod. I bring up Nimrod because despite the destroy element of her ability, Misery doesn't really fit into any traditional destroy list. So any destroy brew with her would have to be something completely new. And that might just be the most interesting thing about her, almost creating new combos and synergies. Okay, we obviously want to play her on reveal cards that have low power, right? So you don't mind sacrificing their power, but that effect is impactful on the game. So Hood is a great example of this. Great synergy, you get rid of the -3, but you get an extra demon. Also, Spider-Ham, Iceman, White Widow, Black Widow all give you extra disruption with Misery. How about cards like Ironheart, Namora, White Tiger? Those cards are all staples of the big on-reveal deck that could be an Odin alternative. You could also use her to destroy Electro in ramp decks, giving you 2 extra energy per turn from turn 5 onwards. And Jubilee is also in these ramp lists as well, and her 1 power is a good trade-off for pulling another card out. But most ramp decks are filled with high cost cards anyway, so 7 energy on 5 isn't actually that necessary. I mean, you could consider her in Surfer also, but that deck list is already so tight. And how about Misery with the Asgardian list to reproc Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, huh? I know, a little bit of copium there. But I think I'm most excited to explore her synergy with Darkhawk. So check it out. Korg and Rockslide, same lane. You reproc them with Misery and you clear that lane up a little bit. Yeah, you lose their power, but Darkhawk gets a ton of power from all those rocks in your opponent's deck. And then of course you Mystique the Darkhawk. And as an alternate win condition, you can consider Master Mold and Black Widow in this deck as well, together with all the other disruption cards we talked about earlier. So something like this. Man, I haven't seen this list in a while. Maybe Misery is the card that brings it back, right? I guess the real question is though, do we even need a card like Misery when we have Odin, when we have Absorbing Man out there? I feel like her ability is very combo dependent, which could explain the 4-7 stat line, which is decent, right, to compensate. Misery comes to the Spotlight caches with Namora and War Machine, who are really strong cards, which also makes me a little bit wary of Misery, because they usually put strong cards in the Spotlight cache if the new release is kind of weak, right? Hey, let me know how you'd use Misery in the comments, though I highly recommend waiting before spending on Misery, because